Hello and welcome to this episode of the NFU Shed Talks podcast with me, Mike Greenwood-Wilkins, and my wonderful co-host.
Hi, I'm Jax Weaver.
On today's podcast, we are revisiting the phenomenal Hawkstone Choir. We spoke to them a couple of weeks ago before their semi-final performance, and today we are congratulating them as winners.
The amazing public voted us through to the final, and then again, I think in the final we just were there to have a good time. We were so pleased to be in the final. So then to be voted the winners and with quite a runaway margin as well was just unreal.
We're also going to the Westminster team to talk about all things water.
The bill is likely to introduce some new regional water authorities with independent chairs and representation from agriculture, stakeholders on there as well. And the idea of that is to kind of join up planning and regionalise it to make it work for those areas.
And finally, recently I hosted the latest edition of Shed Talks Live in my home county of Wiltshire, and we will be hearing from some of our incredible farming panellists.
There is no such thing as a silly question. Use your network, reach out to people that have already done something similar or done something completely different, find out the hurdles they've had, what they've learnt from it. Everyone goes through ups and downs with an innovation journey, and you will as well, but you learn from your mistakes and just don't be afraid to ask the question.
Jax, welcome back to this episode. It is so wonderful to see you again.
Hi, Mike. First off, I'm so sorry I've not been able to make some of the epic interviews that you have done this week, which I'm a little bit devastated about, to be honest. But I hear that you have had some really, really good conversations. And I also hear that Shed Talks, the event in Wiltshire, went really well. And obviously you were chairing our panel. But how did it go?
It was really wonderful event, actually. I've never chaired a panel before in my life, so that was quite terrifying. And we had 4 incredible speakers all talking about different diversification projects that they've got going on their farm. The whole sort of topic of the Shed Talks this time around was balancing the books, so looking at different ways of making farms more financially viable and sustainable for now and into the future. So hearing all the different insights on things that farmer members had done to strengthen their businesses was super inspiring and quite intimidating, actually, sitting there on stage with them all asking questions, thinking, wow, this is a great group of people.
So topical though, Mike. I mean, I was down in Cornwall at the Royal Cornwall Show the end of last week, some of our office holders and the Cornish team. And that conversation was coming up time and time and time again. You know, members are just really focusing on making sure their businesses are rock solid, got really good foundations, you know, planning, almost trying to weather and insulate their own businesses from the myriad of policy that's coming at them on all sorts of topics. And actually, I thought that although that's really hard, it really brings some hope into the conversations we're having. You know, people are really focused, looking at their businesses, forward planning. And I think that's a really great position for us as an industry to be getting into.
It really is, actually. And there's been so much going on in the industry over the last couple of years, and it has felt like big headwinds against us and lots of pressure and lots of sort of negative things we're fighting against. But that was the most refreshing thing about Shed Talks, was that it was such a positive conversation. Everyone was speaking really, proactively and positively about the future and what they were doing. And I agree completely. I think people have it started to really hit the loss of BPS, for example. The financial reality of a lot of people's businesses is really hitting home and becoming a difficult reality that people have to live with and work around. And I think looking at diversifying your business and your income streams and just making it as resilient as possible is something that is really at the forefront of people's minds. And like you say, that means looking to the future, looking at new ideas, and that does bring quite a lot of optimism and hope and inspiration.
I think it also brings that next generation into the conversation, perhaps a few years earlier or at all, depending on, what you're looking at doing, because actually they're so live to what's going on. They've watched the inheritance tax argument play out. They're now making sure that they're part of that conversation for the future. And actually, I see a lot of the sort of older generation really welcoming those conversations. Definitely. And saying, right, what do we want to do? What do we want this farm this business, this family to look like in 20, 30, 40 years time. And they're mapping that out. And I just think that's so useful and such a good exercise to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the positive things that have come out of the whole discourse around inheritance over the last couple of years, that it's made people really start planning in a way that they otherwise weren't really. And I think also a lot of the conversations that came up at Shed Talks Live were around the practical side of the younger generation getting involved in the farm, in that, yes, everyone wants your kids or the next generation to take over, but actually it's not that easy to support another household, another set of households financially from a farming business. And if you are going to move to work on the farm full time, it has to be financially viable. It has to create enough additional income to support those extra households, those extra people. And that is really, I think, what is sparking a lot of the diversification conversations and all of the different approaches that have been taken at Shed Talks. It all came back down to, how are the next generation on our farm leading on this? How are they moving this forward? Where are their passions? Where are their interests? And how can we capitalise on that? Which is brilliant to hear.
Talking about diversification, although probably not true diversification, you've had a great week and had a really good conversation with our Hawkstone Choir. What was that like? How were they?
They were still buzzing, I think. You could just tell how excited and happy they were. And yeah, I mean, what a diversification project to do. I don't think many of us would, our accountants would sort of look on it very favourably if we said, yeah, no, we're going to enter Britain's Got Talent and win £250,000 and that's how we're going to look after the farm. But it was actually really lovely hearing about how they're going to spend the money and more on like farming charity activities and things like that, and also supporting them carrying on as a group together. So
it was such a good
wonderful
show.
Conversation.
Yeah, did you watch it?
I did, and I cried again.
Right, typical. It was just so good, and you're thinking, that's us as farmers. These are just normal people. I just thought it was so incredible and very well deserved win as well. If we're the cat's out of the bag, spoiling everything, I thought they did very, very well.
So without any more from us, let's go over to the Hawkstone Choir themselves. We've got James Flory and Ellie Maguire. Oh my gosh. Welcome, Ellie and James. I'm sorry to spoil it for anyone who hasn't heard yet, but if you've not heard, then you're living under a rock, because the Hawkstone Choir has won Britain's Got Talent. And you guys very kindly came on the podcast back before your semi-final performance, and we were wishing you luck then, and we knew you were going to win, and you have done it. And I'm so proud and so pleased for you guys. So, Ellie, tell me, what does it feel like to be a Britain's Got Talent winner?
Oh, just so surreal. It's still not sunk in at all. I can't get my head around it. It's bizarre.
James, has it sunk in with you yet, or are you still just on cloud nine?
Not really, to be honest. It's definitely sort of cloud nine feeling, really. It's you're almost still expecting to wake up and all be a bit of a weird dream that you've just gone through. But it was a mad couple of weeks, and it's kind of like settling back into like the day job now and still having sort of flashbacks going, God, did that really happen?
I can imagine suddenly, oh wait, no, the farm still needs looking after, not just this new international superstar, but also have to keep the farm going. So for those who haven't watched it at home or don't know much about Britain's Got Talent, Ellie, could you just tell us a little bit about what happened, what the final was, how you got there, and the process of winning?
Yeah, so we got the golden buzzer in our first audition. So we all sort of turned up like lost sheep to our first audition. Just sort of thought we'd give it a
No
go.
pun
We
intended.
got all this. Yeah, no pun intended. Pun always intended. But no, we thought we'd give it a go, and it's something to tell the grandchildren or whatever, and have a bit of fun. But to everyone's surprise, we got the golden buzzer, so that got us through to the semi-finals, and it got a little bit more serious then. But we did quite an emotional performance. I was quite emotional anyway through most of the weekend.
So was I.
in the semi-final, and then we got voted through. The amazing public voted us through to the final, and then again I think in the final we just were there to have a good time. We were so pleased to be in the final, so then to be voted the winners and with quite a runaway margin as well was just unreal. Amazing.
Ooh, what was the margin? I haven't heard that. What was the margin of you winning?
It was like 28 point something percent. It was huge. Double the or over double the people in second place. So it was incredible.
Oh my goodness, that must be one of the biggest margins ever. That's incredible. I was at Farm Fest the weekend of your semi-final performance, and the atmosphere there and watching it and seeing you guys get through, I think everyone just went absolutely crazy. It was phenomenal. And I felt like there was a real kind of vibe and a conversation going on that you guys were going to win. But I was kind of thinking, is that just because we're all farmers and we're all in our own little bubble? But hearing that you won by that margin and that the whole public seems to have got behind you so enthusiastically is just absolutely phenomenal. James, you guys took a little bit of a risk, I think, in the final, a risk that obviously paid off multiple fold. But you sang an original song. How on earth did that song come about? Who wrote it, and who decided that you were going to take that massive risk?
So we're fortunate enough to have the wonderful Simon Gwilliam working with us as of our musical director, and he's been so invested in our journey and so invested in what we've been trying to do that he wrote that song for us, specifically for us. So when he played that at one of our sort of rehearsal times, I don't think there was a dry eye amongst us really, and we were absolutely determined that if we got through to the final, that was the song we wanted to perform, and it wasn't ever even sort of a question really. So it meant such a lot to us that he'd written it for us. The words really sort of resonated with all of the choir members, and we were absolutely determined that if we got through, that's what we wanted to do for the final. Absolutely. Regardless of whether it was a risk or not. It was 100%.
If anyone hasn't heard the song, please do go on YouTube and watch the Hawkstone Choir performance from the final. We'll link it in the show notes below, because the words of that song really, I mean, I was crying watching it. It really was phenomenal. The judges said on the show, you need to release that, you need to get it on Spotify because I want to put it on my playlist and be listening to it. And I totally agree with them. Are there any plans to release it as a single? Are you guys working on an album? Like what's, are we going to get more music from you guys?
There's been various talk about bits and pieces. I think we'd love to be able to record it and release that song. That would be amazing. There's a bit of chat around trying to make that happen. There's various ideas being floated around for numerous bits and pieces. And it's just, I think, just taking stock a bit at the moment to work out what we can do and where we'd like to go. But absolutely, that would be, we'd love to do any of those sort of things, really.
Oh, amazing. Well, I cannot wait to have it on my playlist. I'm sure you're going to record it. That just has to happen. It makes so much sense. Before we get to more of what's next, Ellie, I don't know if people at home might not know, but not only have you won the show, but you've also won £250,000. How on earth do you split that between you? Or what are you going to do with the money? And what percentage cut has Jeremy Clarkson taken?
I mean, I think there's still got to be discussions. We probably should have completely decided before we won it, but we didn't know we were going to. But we've already decided that a large percentage of it is going to farming mental health charities. So I think we've got 5 charities that a large percentage of that's going to go towards. So that was always in the plan. We always sort of talked about doing that. And then I think whatever's left over probably is going to go into a bit of a pot to sort of fund us doing things going forwards. So if we were going to go on tour and things like that, then we'd need a bit of money behind us. So the rest of us haven't seen a cent, to be quite honest with you. But it was the icing on the cake to win it. So
that's so wonderful to hear. What a brilliant way to use the money. I'm glad Jeremy's not taking it all. And as you mentioned the mental health charities, that's a beautiful idea. And that makes me even more happy. It makes me love you guys even more. Obviously, the topic of mental health in farming and in agriculture and isolation farming and all of these things have really very clearly come across in your messaging, not just to our industry, but to the broader public who maybe don't quite know what it's like working on a farm and being a farmer. How do you guys feel that message has been getting across from what you've been doing? And do you think you've been having a positive impact, Ellie?
Yeah, I mean, we've, I think everyone in the choir has received some messages of support, and I've had a few that have sort of said that, I'm going to try not to get emotional, I'm a very emotional person, but I've received some that have said that we've given them a bit of a beacon of hope, and they've been struggling recently, and that was, the hope that they needed, which is just amazing. I think we said before we won that if we can sort of do that for one person, then we've won. And yeah, I know a lot of people have been getting those messages. Families of people that have taken their own lives have messaged in, and like I say, people that are struggling have messaged. So it's definitely hitting home, and just seeing all the support, is just incredible. We couldn't have dreamt that it would have that impact, I don't think.
It's so true. And as I say, this is why I need that single in my playlist, because that song hits you in the soul, in your heart so much as a farmer. And it's so, your voices are so powerful and uplifting, and it makes you cry, but with joy and enthusiasm. And it's just so epic in its proportions. And I think it just conveys so beautifully in a metaphoric and through the lyrics of the messaging you guys want to get across. James, have you had kind of similar kind of feedback from people, and how do you feel about the messaging that you've managed to get across, and is it what you were hoping for?
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to Ellie, really. We've had sort of the messages of support we've had, and the messages from people who have the songs really resonated with them. As you said there, the lyrics are really, really meaningful. And yeah, people who said, it's come up to us and said, look, we've been really struggling. It's been a real sort of a beacon of hope. It's been incredible. It's been really touching, actually. Yeah, the reaction we've had from the public's been amazing.
I'm so glad. I'm glad it's had that effect on you guys, as well as the
they've definitely had the effect on, well, not just on the public, but on ourselves as well. It's really hit home with ourselves to be able to share some of our own challenges and experiences and stuff amongst each other, whereas previously we perhaps haven't wanted to necessarily burden those closer to us, like family members and stuff, with some of our own thoughts and our own sort of challenges. We felt comfortable to share that amongst a group as a choir, which has been really nice, actually. It's helped us all individually as well.
Oh, good. And I think that's the other messaging about this choir and this whole process is, you don't necessarily need to form a group of farmers and go on a national television show and win it like you guys have had, although that is excellent. But actually showing a group of farmers coming together to do something a little bit outside of farming and just talk to each other and socialize and get out of the bubble that the farm is. I think just seeing that and seeing how powerful it is incredibly positive. And I hope a lot of farmers at home will be thinking, maybe I'm not going to audition for Britain's Got Talent, but maybe we'll set up a local choir or a local group, or, a local quiz night in the pub or something, just to come together outside of farming, and seeing it happening is really showing the power of that boost to your mental health. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for you guys for doing that. Not only have you won the title and won £250,000, you've also won the chance to perform at the Royal Variety Performance in November in front of royalty, which I hope King Charles is there, because obviously he loves the countryside and he loves farming, and I think he will adore you guys. Have you started planning for that at all? Are you going to sing your original song again? I'd love to see that. Or do you have any other ideas of what that performance is going to look like, Ellie?
No idea, actually. We've got the dates, and that's about it. But so I'm not sure what song we're singing. I couldn't tell you even if I wanted to, because I don't know. Like you say, I think it's really fitting to sing for King Charles if he's there. Who gets to say they've sang at the Apollo and the Royal Albert Hall, so that's pretty cool.
Phenomenal. James, you excited?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Also terrified? Is it going to be more or less scary than performing live on the final of Britain's Got Talent?
I don't know. I think, as certainly I've found, as we've gone through the rounds of Britain's Got Talent, the first audition, I was petrified before going out on stage. Whereas semi-final, I was still quite nervous. When we got to the final, it was like actually more excitement than nerves. I think now we've got through it all, I think we're all just really excited and looking forward to it. I'm sure there will be some nerves on the day, but
you're all just professionals now.
I did not get that far by any means. But we're just loving the journey and loving the experiences now. And I think it's just bringing so much fun to us all. And we're all very excited to be doing it.
What has the reaction from the broader farming community been since your win? What kind of feedback have you had from people? Ellie, have people been in touch with you a lot?
Yeah, the support's been unreal. I think watching, like you said about FarmFest, watching the footage of people watching there, and then all the little watch parties that people had. Another chap from the choir, he sent a video of his community at home, all in a barn with a big screen up, and seeing all those videos and people celebrating sort of for us and with us, and yeah, it just that's been so special. I was sort of on the train home on the weekend, reading all the messages, just sort of, just quietly crying on the train. It's just been, really, really special, the reaction from everyone, and couldn't have dreamt of how everyone's got behind us, really.
Oh, I'm really pleased that sort of cut through and come through. Farmers Guardian actually reached out to me before your final performance and said they were putting together a video of support from farmers up and down the country, and they wanted a little clip to wish you guys good luck. And so I sent off a little clip for that. And when I was recording, as soon as they messaged me, I'm terrible at answering things quickly. And as soon as they messaged me, I was like, right, I have to do this immediately because this is really important and these guys need our support. James, have you seen all of the support and things that you've had online? Have you has that helped give you a boost?
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been sort of overwhelming, really, to see how much support we've had from the public out there, how many messages from people I've not heard from for ages, from local farming people who you wouldn't expect necessarily to have a reaction from, who've been like, that was, how sort of touched they were by it and how moved they were by the performance and sort of what we've done. It's been, phenomenal, really. And as Lily said, seeing all the watch parties sort of around the country. I was fortunate enough that my local cricket club put on a big watch party here, and seeing the reaction from everybody there was amazing, really. The videos and stuff that have come from it. It's been, very overwhelming.
Brilliant. It has brought the whole farming community together to be able to talk about a brilliant thing. Everyone's felt so positive and saying, wow, this amazing thing is happening. And it's not very often that when you get a group of farmers together, the overriding topic of conversation is absolute positivity. But you guys have given us something that we can talk about in an uplifting and positive way. And we are all so grateful to you all for doing that and giving that to our community. Goodness knows we need it at the moment. We've mentioned the Royal Variety Performance. That's obviously a very exciting thing that's coming up. And you've made a couple of little allusions to maybe a single, maybe an album, maybe a bit of touring. What is next? What are your, not what is definitively planned, because I understand everything's up in the air, but what's your goal? What would you like to be doing, this time next year? What things do you want to have achieved as a choir? Ellie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I know a couple of people have mentioned Glastonbury. I think that would be pretty cool. There'd be something,
my
bunch of farmers
yes.
singing on a dairy farm would be great. And actually, I'm not that far from Glastonbury, so that would be really nice. Somerset's my home county.
Oh my goodness,
so
pyramid stage
for me. Yeah, definitely.
Headliners
so
next year.
Cool.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, if we can make that happen, that would be good. And then I think otherwise, just to kind of keep pushing forward with the mental health message, and not lose momentum with that would be my aim.
Oh, amazing. Very important focus. I'm glad you bring that up and mention that again. James, what's your blue sky thinking of your, what you want to end up with this time next year?
Oh, crikey, this was $1 million question, really. There's so many ideas been floated around from, trying to release the song that we've done. There's possibly a couple of other ones in the pipeline. There's talks of trying to go off and perform at, various shows or festival kind of stuff. But it's going to be a bit of a case of when we can get everybody together to do it all, because it's quite a commitment to actually do it. But we're obviously going to keep on singing. We'd love to keep on performing and trying to, if we can use our platform to continue to raise awareness, potentially fundraise further for mental health charities, that would be amazing. But it really is, very up in the air at the moment. As Ellie said, the icing on the cake would be Glastonbury next year would be unbelievable.
That would be phenomenal.
Headline the pyramid stage might be a bit of a push, but
no. I said blue sky thinking. Shoot high. I think that's got to be the aim. But I think festivals up and down the country, like music festivals, you guys would be so perfect at that, bringing people together outside in the countryside. I just think you are phenomenal. I think that's just about all we've got time for today. I want to thank you both so much for speaking to us, both in our earlier episode and today. And thank you for everything that you have done for the farming community. You've given us such a boost when we needed it most. And we cannot express our gratitude enough to you and the whole of the choir. Please take our thanks back to the rest of the choir. Send our love. We wish you all the luck in the world for the years ahead. Cannot wait to see your Royal Variety performance. And I cannot wait to be on the rail at the Pyramid stage next year watching you at Glastonbury. Thank you guys so much.
Wow, what a cracking interview Mike just did with James and Ellie. And now we are going over to Westminster to hear all about things from London, with this week's focus on water.
Hello everyone, it's Scott, Head of External Affairs.
And Niamh, External Affairs Manager from the NFU's Westminster team, and welcome to this week's episode of the Westminster section on the podcast.
Niamh, MPs have been back now for a week or two, and looking ahead for the next 6 weeks, we really do have a bumper season of political action. There is so much coming up, isn't there?
Oh my goodness, it is so busy. We're T-minus 2 weeks out from the Makerfield by-election, so all eyes on that, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens there. But back in Westminster, we've also had a really busy week, haven't we, Scott? We've had DEFRA oral questions taking place this week, and a lot of really good things raised in there.
Yeah, one of the things the team works really hard is when we know ministers are coming to the House of Commons. So, as you say, Niamh, this week DEFRA ministers Emma Reynolds, Angela Eagle, Emma Hardy are coming to Parliament. We try and plant a few questions that we know are issues our members really care about. And you know what, Niamh? We had a pretty good hit rate this week, didn't we?
Yeah, we had some great questions raised in the chamber on things like farm finances, the seasonal workers scheme, and obviously red diesel and fertiliser, which there's been a lot of work taken place on that to really highlight the impact the war in Iran is having on our members.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity when ministers come to the House of Commons. We never want them to go back to their offices without having lots of farming questions raised. And we had Labour MPs raising questions, Conservatives, Lib Dems as well. So good cross-party support for the NFU in DEFRA questions. Also a couple of other interesting debates that our listeners might have missed. One on seasonal workers. Seasonal workers, obviously a massive issue for our members, particularly our horticulture members, but also poultry and dairy as well. We need the numbers for next year. So it was really important that that debate happened, and we briefed MPs, and good to see pressure on the government to get those numbers out. And another one, Niamh, on national emergencies. One of the things we do in the team is, even if the debate title isn't specifically about farming, we try and work in some NFU asks as well, and that's what we did on the national emergencies debate, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, food security is a national security and a national emergency if that we don't have, obviously, that domestic production. But yeah, it's our favourite pastime, isn't it? Shoehorning NFU asks into debate titles that aren't particularly relevant, but we make it relevant to us.
Exactly. So it's great to see MPs raise our asks, as you say, about food security being national security, that ability to feed ourselves and produce food at home, even when there is disruption and conflict. And our big ask for the government to recognise that food and food production is critical national infrastructure. Robin Munt, our Vice President, also had an important meeting this week.
Yeah, so Robin is our office holder lead for rural crime, and she attended the NFU Mutual's rural crime reception in Parliament. That was a really good opportunity to engage with. So many MPs actually turned up to that. So Robin did a really good job of speaking to them about obviously the various rural crime issues that are affecting our members and how we can work with MPs to lobby the Home Office to take rural crime seriously.
And then lastly this week, Tom Bradshaw and Robin Munt again met Dame Angela Eagle and her team in DEFRA, mainly talking about SFI. Obviously, we've had some clarity about SFI this week, but there are still lots of things that members want to see sorted. So that's what's the budget going to be for the 30th of June? How are we going to get countryside stewardship higher tier members in this year? Lots of questions about common land and uplands as well. So really great that Tom and Robin had that meeting with Dame Angela Eagle, and if you want to hear more about what happened in that meeting, then you can tune in to Tom's vlog, where both Tom and Robin talk about it. So that's Westminster this week, but on the last podcast, I promised you that we'd be looking at some deep dives on the bills that the government announced in the King's Speech. We talked about this before, but the King's Speech is where the government, via the King, set out the bills they want to introduce in the next 12 to 18 months. And Niamh, there are more than a few bills, aren't there, that we have an interest in?
Oh, there's definitely more than a few. Obviously, Scott, the King's Speech is an important event in any political calendar. And as an external affairs team, it shapes a lot of our lobbying work as we look to see how that legislation could potentially impact British food and farming. And one of those key bills of interest is the Clean Water Bill. Now, when it comes to agri-politics, water is obviously a huge issue. Too much water, not enough water. What is in the water? What isn't in the water? Where's the water going? It's massive, and government love talking about it. We've already seen the Water Special Measures Act passed, which obviously clamps down on the water bosses and water companies when it comes to pollution incidents. But we're now getting a second water bill for government to further advance their agenda on this, and that's what we're following along.
So we promised a deep dive. Niamh, what is in the bill?
Now, the bill isn't published yet, so we don't know for definite what it will contain line by line, but we're pretty sure that the content will stem from the review carried out by the Independent Water Commission, that's chaired by Sir John Cunliffe, and the following Water White Paper as well. So shout out to our very clever policy colleagues who had the pleasure of going through those documents with a fine-tooth comb. And we also got some summary documents with further information alongside the King's Speech hinting about what it might contain. So what are we looking out for? Firstly, Ofwat. Don't know her anymore because she's being scrapped. Rest in peace. The bill will create, and I quote, an independent and integrated water regulator, bringing together the functions of Ofwat, the Drinking Water Inspectorate, the Environment Agency and Natural England. They're coining it a super regulator, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that.
You're absolutely right. We've got to keep a close eye on that. Some other interesting parts that we think might come in the bill. There's planning, there's targets, there's permitting. I mean, Niamh, we talk about planning a lot, so any opportunity for us to talk about the planning opportunities to improve water quality and water resource management, that sounds good.
Yeah, it does. So the bill is likely to introduce some new regional water authorities with independent chairs and representation from agriculture, stakeholders on there as well. And the idea of that is to kind of join up planning and regionalise it to make it work for those areas. It wouldn't be a government bill if we didn't mention targets. Government are hoping this bill will give them the legislative tools to ensure that ambitious water quality standards are met. And that's obviously when our ears prick up.
Now, Niamh, that's what makes our ears prick up. But if you're a dairy farmer, one of the things that makes your ears prick up is permitting. And am I right in saying there's not something specifically in the bill about permitting, but we wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't worried about it? What can you tell us about that?
Permitting isn't explicitly referenced in the government's initial notes on the Clean Water Bill. However, we do have concerns over the proposals to extend environmental permitting to cattle farming. And we've obviously got an ongoing consultation with that at the moment, and we've communicated our concerns to ministers. The NFU Deputy President Paul Tompkins met with the Water Minister, and he highlighted the need for an industry-led solution when it comes to environmental permitting. Obviously, given the complexities around data, measurements, farming systems, and a whole host of other things which make permitting these sectors especially tricky.
Niamh, that was a tour de force of a deep dive into the Clean Water Bill. Well done. It's great that you and our policy colleagues are so in the weeds already, in the weeds on a bill that isn't even published. But this is really important. You said, Niamh, at the start that the King's Speech and all the bills the government introduces is a big part of our work. And that's right. As a team, we like to get ahead of the game before bills are even published. So on this bill and on the other bills we'll be covering in deep dives on the podcast, we'll be talking to you about how we're reaching out to policy colleagues, making sure there's a shared understanding across the organisation about the bill, writing briefings, gaining intel from MPs, working with the department. And if the bill isn't completely perfect when it's first published, which although the government always thinks their bills are, we often take a different view. We are prepared to try and amend legislation if we need to nudge it in our members' favour. And we've got a pretty good record, haven't we, Niamh, of amending legislation when we need to.
Yeah, we are actually. And I think it's quite interesting with amendments, like the stars do really have to align for them to be successful. But for the NFU, the stars do often align. We've had some pretty good success in previous bills, which are now acts. So the Renters' Rights Acts, the Planning and Infrastructure Act. Is that right, Scott?
No, that is. If we do say so ourselves, we can't always amend everything. You can't change the whole purpose of a bill, but where there are unintended or indeed intended negative consequences for our members, we will do our absolute best to write ways we think the legislation could be better drafted, try and buy MPs and peers into that process, and maybe even win a few votes in Parliament. Well, Niamh, thanks again for all the work you're doing on the water bill and bringing that to life for our listeners. Next time, we plan to speak about another bill that the government have announced, as well as give you an update on all the political gossip in Westminster. However, the next episode will come out after the Makerfield by-election, so who knows what's going to happen there, but I suspect, Niamh, will spend a bit of time talking about the fallout from that as well.
I think we definitely will, and potentially on very little sleep on the next episode as we stay up watching those results.
Great. Well, from Niamh and myself in Westminster, thank you very much for listening. See you next time.
From Westminster to Wiltshire. And we are joined by another gatecrasher this week as producer Paul is stepping in for me and Mike to interview the fabulous panellists from our Shed Talks event, James Small, who is a livestock producer in Somerset, and Emily Mee, who is all things blueberry from Peterborough.
James, Emily, welcome to the Shed Talks podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
It's great watching you on stage just now in front of a packed room full of farmers and growers. We've been talking about resilience, some of the side projects you've been going and doing. Let's start with you, Emily, though. You told us about you were getting off the roller coaster of arable farming, and then you've got onto another roller coaster of diversification. Talk us through that.
So back in 2011, originally, my parents were deep in arable farming, contract farming, arable storage, and wanted to diversify into something to grow the business big enough for the potential for me and my brother to move back to the farm. They were looking at glamping, camping, shed rentals, and we had an arable agronomist that had moved out to Poland and was managing blueberries. And he said, why don't you look into doing blueberries? You've got an irrigation licence. It's the perfect situation and setup.
And how did you decide that that was the thing in terms of why did you do it? What was the driver for you to go and do something different?
So we wanted something that had lower risk in terms of income. Obviously, arable is very up and down like a roller coaster each year. And we wanted something that was more stable, a growing market. And at that point, blueberries had just been announced as a superfruit. There wasn't many growers in the UK. A lot of people didn't know we could grow blueberries in the UK. And we wanted to do something different, pioneering, and educate people.
So then what happened after you got everything started and you had this nub of an idea?
So we did 2 years of budgeting. We had to get the support of a bank, the support of a grower cooperative to be able to market to the retailers, and we needed one retailer to sign off on stocking us. So we were very fortunate in that our bank was very supportive. We met Berry Gardens growers, and Waitrose signed off as being our initial support. It's very capital investment heavy at the beginning, so we had to pour a lot of money into the initial setup, learn everything from what they need to grow in, how you need to water them, feed them. We didn't know anything about blueberries previously. There still isn't a day where we don't learn something about them. And we wanted to be the best at what we were doing.
And it's frozen in particular that you've gone into.
So we are predominantly fresh fruit suppliers. So into the retailers is all fresh. About 99% of what we sell from the door goes into retailers as fresh fruit to M&S, Aldi and Lidl. We freeze the fruit that wouldn't last 7-day shelf life. So to me, that is our best fruit. It would last 3 days. It's the fruit you would want to pick off the bush, most nutritious and most flavoursome. So that is the stuff I freeze and we use in our product line so it can be enjoyed all year round rather than seasonally.
And James, just coming to you, we talk about roller coaster for Emily. You picked up when you were talking, you said, well, I'm looking for projects that add value without creating any more work. So you've done it the easy way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what life's about, isn't it? Work smarter, not harder. With what we've looked at on the farm is just trying to add value to something that we already do or make use of something that we already have. So listening to Emily there, they expanded brilliantly with doing soft fruits. We can't do that. Our farm won't allow it. I say to guests when we're doing tours around the farm, I might want to farm ostriches, but I've got the wrong farm to do it. So I have to farm what my farm will take, or I need to move locations. I don't want to move locations, so I've got to work with what I've got.
And you've got the benefit of location where you are.
So, yes, pluses and minuses with it, but where we are located overlooks Cheddar Gorge, which is it's a very unique place. It's a very well-known place, highest inland cliffs in the country. It's one of the top 5 roads to drive in the country. It attracts a lot of people there every year.
And what's your diversification that you've gone into? Because it's been quite a story from deciding to go into some of your diversification projects to get into where you are now.
Yeah, it's not been a straight road. It's been a windy one. So we do a little bit of film locations because of the location of where we are. It attracts people. I'm sensing that's probably going to drop a bit with the advent of AI technology. So a lot of cinematographers now are using AI to create the images rather than needed to be on the locations. So that's going to drop off a bit. But we've done all sorts with that. We've had major films, we've had BBC documentaries, we've had the First World War trenches being built, we've had zombies on the farm, we've had churches, villages being built in the past. As I say, though, I think that's probably going to start to slow up a little bit now just because of technological change. About 16 years ago, we started to look then at going into glamping, so into the tourism side of things. It wasn't a straight road. We were looking at pitch tent camping to start with, but our immediate thought was where our farm is, we look straight down through Cheddar Gorge, so there is a view. There is a unique view. Can't be got anywhere else in the country. It's that. So how do we capitalise or make use of that, and how do we share it? Pitch tent camping to start with. We looked at it, had some discussions, networked with some other people, and that wasn't for us. We decided that wasn't the way we wanted to take it. And then we came across a company called Featherdown. We started to look at with them, and they do a sort of a partnership working approach. So it wasn't a huge capital investment for us. There was an investment. There was a ready-made base of people who already knew what the brand was and knew what to expect. The ethos fitted really well with the farm. And so we dipped our toe in the water with first guests arriving on 2011.
And then how's it gone since then? Because you talked to us about this promise of, you'll get 95% occupancy, it'll be easy peasy. The reality is different. It's been hard work.
Indeed. I mean, in fairness to Featherdown, they've never promised that. There are other people out there in the industry who would say that. It's worked pretty well, I'd say, for what we expected to get out of it. It delivered for us the first 5 years what we wanted. We then looked at wanting to progress. We thought we'd learnt a bit more about it, and within the group we were able to have that opportunity. So we have altered it, we have reinvested, we've sort of gone through 4 tranches of change and reinvestment, and it was a little bit that was touched earlier in the evening about it was an evolution. It sort of changed. It wasn't like this is where we're going to end up at. It was like, we just did one step and we were there for a bit and then thought, actually maybe we could do this. And then, actually, maybe we could go on and do the next thing. And so we're at a place now where we think we're fairly happy. We're not going to get any bigger. Don't want any more. It's enough for us to be able to handle. Works well within the business. Let's just concentrate on what we got and trying to improve the product.
And it'd be great to hear from both of you as well in terms of how's it going in terms of your revenue streams? Is it bringing in what you wanted to, how you envisaged it to be? Is it completely different? Is it something that you're having to rethink compared to when you started? I'm really interested. Maybe, Emily, if you start us off.
There's definitely, we have to look at in separate streams. The arable side is, as expected, all over the place. The horticulture blueberry project side, we went into the business at a time where horticulture was booming. And since then, it's been a very challenging market. We're still making money and we are happy with how the business is going in terms of the challenges we're facing. But when we started, there was no such thing as minimum wage, no such thing as Brexit, COVID, the Ukraine war. Every year we've faced different challenges, and it definitely has an impact. Now with the cost of living crisis, it's even more difficult to sell the UK produce against cheaper imports. So it's definitely something we need to promote as UK growers, to fight for our case to make money and cover our costs, because it is more expensive to produce here. In terms of the product, I would actually say that's taken off more than I could ever have expected. At the start, it was definitely challenging finding your sales direction, but we have found that word of mouth is so powerful and things organically spread, and it's got to a point where it now ticks along in the background and it's still growing, but I'm not having to go out and pitch myself to businesses, to individuals, and now we can just sit back and enjoy it more.
And you've got a big smile on your face, so it's given you the, I think you said earlier, that the lifestyle, that you did it, it's partly for the life you want as well.
Yeah, so I was previously working as a chartered accountant doing financial audit in London, and it's definitely a very different lifestyle. I'm not shut in an office all day. Every day is different. I can be delivering to farm shops, I can be packing online orders, I can be out at Great British Farm Fest with a stall. I love meeting people, and it's given me that platform.
James, how does it fit for you in terms of those ways, in terms of both the initial question on revenue streams, but then has these diversification projects given you all the things that you wanted from them?
It has. So when we initially went into, although we do several different diversification side, if I focus on the glamping side of it, we went into it to replace a wage. That was the idea. And it did that. It replaced, from what we would take out of our farming business, it was a very good wage. We were beef and sheep farmers, principally. 2010, 2011 prices weren't great, and it's been, like the arable sector, it's quite volatile. There is a large amount of problem with farming, and that it's a huge amount of capital that's generally invested. There's a large amount of capital that you're invested into your crop with no real certainty over the value of the crop sales that you're going to be getting back. Maybe you'll have a cracking year, maybe you're going to have a really bad year, we don't know. And so we wanted to get a bit of stability in something. So in our first instance, my wife and I ran the business separately. We had it separate to the farm. We rented the field effectively from the farm, not my parents, but from the farming business. And then in 2016, it evolved, and we expanded a bit, but we brought the business into the farming business. 2020, my wife became a partner in the farm as well, then full partner. Everything got brought in under the same umbrella. But we're at a stage when we made the first evolutionary change in 2016. We had 7 accommodations on the farm covering 2.5 acres. Those 7 accommodations earned the farm more than 130 suckler cows, which then started to sharpen some pencils about the place, because, well, hang on a minute, we've got a large amount of capital laid up in cows, and so we outed some of our cows. We used that to increase on the glamping side of things. Very loosely, it's sort of a third of our income comes from the glamping business now into the farming business overall, and it's not guaranteed, but you know roughly what you're going to get. You're able to set a budget. There is money coming in at a time of year where we don't normally have it coming into the farm, because we sell most of our stock in the autumn, winter, just because that's the way it works with the beef and sheep side of things. Summertime, don't have much income coming in, but now we do. So we're able to balance it off on the cash flow, works quite well, and stands alone very well on its own legs within the business.
So James, it gives you the stability you're looking for, and Emily gives you some of that lifestyle, that passion that you both bring. I think many of our listeners, or some of our listeners at least, may be listening to you both and thinking, I'd really love to do this, but how on earth do you get started and start making those decisions? Maybe Emily could just tell us, how did you get started?
I think I came from a very different angle. So I was working remotely during COVID as an accountant, and could see my family having a different lifestyle, a very different day-to-day. Every job they did was completely different. And I wanted to do something that was my own project and I could get my own reward from it. To me, food waste was a big issue, and I've always been a very passionate foodie. I wanted to be able to give back to that, and doing the food and drink product line was my way of creating an income stream to support me moving home, but also doing something that I am passionate in. I didn't have the skill set I needed, but through networking and the professionals that are out there that have experience, I could ask those questions, get training, get feedback. People are very happy to talk you through their own experiences. And I think it's a good way, just hearing other people's ideas and other people's journeys is very inspiring, and you can kickstart your own. But really, you have to have the guts and the passion to just go for it.
And there's something that caught my eye when you were talking, James. You said something on the lines of, if someone wants to come over to me and have a conversation about how they're going to, I can't remember your phrase.
Spend money with me.
Spend money with you, that was it.
Yeah.
Then I'm more than happy to have that conversation.
Yeah, totally. Have a cup of tea.
Tell us about that. How did you get into starting these diversification projects?
Well, it's always been... So like with the things with the filming, we do some shipping container rentals as well, and that just came about by knowing someone who knew someone who was looking for something and thought we might be able to help. So although we got shipping containers, actually what they are is explosive stumps for fireworks to be kept in. So they have to be X distance away from houses. And it's like, well, okay, actually we've got a location that works for that. And so it's something a bit unique, a bit different. That's fine. Let's have a conversation about it and get the licensing in place and what was needed, and happy days, thank you very much. With the glamping thing, that was actually actively us going out and trying to find something then. And we did the bit of research and seeing what was about there. And how we got there really is small steps for us. If we'd gone into it the way that it is now, it would have cost a lot of money, and I would probably have balked at doing it because I wouldn't know what I was doing. So because we started in a smaller way, still significant, but smaller way, you build confidence, you build knowledge, you build your skill sets, and you're like, actually, probably with you, Emily, like, well, actually, we could do a few more acres. Actually, we could put on a bit more. Actually, we could. But if you're faced with the ultimate bit in the first instance, you're just, oh, okay, that's a bit scary. I don't know if I want to go down that road.
Definitely one thing at a time.
Yeah, indeed, one step at a time. Yeah.
So you're sort of both nodding along now. There's so much you must have in common. We could talk to you for hours sort of in this show, but I wonder if we could just start wrapping up. Could you tell us, if you could giving one piece of advice from what you've learned, what would it be to someone who's thinking of doing their first diversification project?
There is no such thing as a silly question. Use your network, reach out to people that have already done something similar or done something completely different, find out the hurdles they've had, what they've learnt from it. Everyone goes through ups and downs with an innovation journey, and you will as well, but you learn from your mistakes, and just don't be afraid to ask the question.
So I think for me, it's a bit more of a few steps in place. So first question is why? Why do you want to do something different than what you're existing doing? If it's because what you're doing is losing money, probably diversification's not the thing for you in the first step. I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do, but you don't want to be doing something else to pay. You don't want to do job B to pay for job A. I don't know of very many industries where people do a full day's work at something and then go and work somewhere else to try to earn enough money to stay working doing the first job. That doesn't happen. Now, if from the why do you want to do it, it then moves on because I've got something I want to add value, I've got family want to come into it, I want to make something for the children. Great. Then it's what's your skill sets? What have you got? What have you got physically? Farm, location. And then what have you got skill set within your ability? You can learn skills, that's okay. Some things come more natural, but location you can't alter, as we said earlier. Like, I might want to grow soft fruit bushes, but my farm will not take that. It's just not going to happen. So what physically have we got where we're to? So what have you got on your property? What do you think you could offer? What skill sets do you have? And then you start the networking. Right, now you need to start finding out things. I don't think there's any real right or wrong path with it. And it may be something you hadn't thought about completely. Something will crop up in a conversation and you just go, oh, that's an idea. What if that would work? No, it won't work at all. Oh, maybe it will. And you start this, okay, you investigate a little bit. And don't be afraid of it. Have a conversation. I totally agree with no such thing as a silly question. No such thing as a silly question.
Great, and it's so inspirational to hear you talk about those starting points and how you've gone from there. I do have one final question. I'm not sure if it's a silly one. We heard when we were talking about members of people's families, which they've got funny names. I think someone said their mum was the Chancellor. There's someone else who said another character in there. The father or the husband was the somehow. Do you have someone in your lives who actually this wouldn't work without them?
That's got to be my mum. She, like they said, the Chancellor, the somehow, she is both combined. She is like Superwoman. She's the glue between our family, so we are all very strong personalities. Nothing wrong with it, but we do clash, especially during harvest time when you're high on adrenaline, overtired. She's the person that can make us all see sense. And if we have a wild idea, she's the person that finds the money, makes it work, talks us down when we get upset. She's, the glue.
Mums are the best, aren't they?
They are.
So for myself, when I joined into the business, it was a family partnership. So it's my mother and father, uncle and aunt and myself. Now, my mother and father and auntie have passed away since the time we've been in it. But my uncle, he's still very active in the business, he's sort of the steady hand on the tiller, but he's not been afraid of doing anything new. He's always been open to any of the city suggestions. He's never refused anything out of hand. Has allowed us, latterly my wife as well, to sort of come into it that when we have an idea that nothing gets ruled out. So he's always been really good, and he's also quite good as the balance. I think you need that. You can't. We always say in business, you've got to have everyone singing on the same page or sing hymn. Actually, sometimes you need someone in that attitude, just someone on the other who just go, sense check this, hang on a minute. I think there was something in history that there was a group that if you had a good idea, then you all needed to get drunk and have the discussion again. And if it still seemed a good idea, both sober and drunk, then maybe it was an okay idea. But
I'm taking that with me.
You sometimes need to have those, like, hang on a minute moments. So I think for me, it'll be him. And then latterly, it's absolutely the team that we've got on the farm now. The guys who help us, we couldn't do it without them. Just can't. They're just amazing.
And maybe that's a good place to stop and head down the pub, see what ideas come out this evening, and who knows what tomorrow brings.
See if it's a good idea.
James, Emily, thanks ever so much for joining us on the podcast today, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paul, for stepping into the breach and covering that interview. And wow, aren't they up to some really cool things on farm?
They were all so brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. And I'm very grateful to Paul for stepping in and doing that little bit of interviewing, because having done the keynote and the panel, I was needing to have some of the delicious free ice cream that we had.
Mike, this is our last episode before the summer holidays and we return in the autumn. Wow, what a year it has been. I can't believe we have been doing this podcast together for nearly a year. And haven't we covered some things? What do you think your favourite point has been, Mike?
I mean, I feel like we really have finished on a high interviewing the winners of Britain's Got Talent. I don't think you can get much better than that. I think talking to the farming minister at a conference was quite an incredible achievement. That was sort of quite a moment to get to. And also,
I would absolutely second that. I thought our conference was just unreal. I had such a great time, and it was so good to interview Terry and the farming minister. I just thought it was absolutely fabulous.
Oh yes, Terry, our outgoing Director General, your chat with him was absolutely wonderful and a bit emotional, which was lovely. And also I loved when we talked to our other leader-in-chief of the NFU, Tom Bradshaw, our president as well, in our own little shed in the corner as well.
So, Mike, what are you going to be up to over our summer holidays?
Well, I have finally got some positive news to share with everyone, in that we have at last submitted our planning application for our farm shop and kitchen at home at Nolan's. So, Jeremy Clarkson, eat your heart out. Diddley Squat, we're coming for you.
Baked goods galore?
Oh, yes, we're going to have a bakery and I'm going to be doing all the recipes and loads of the baking. So I'm super excited for that. So hopefully by the time we come back in the autumn, we will have our planning permission approved and I'll be able to update you all on progress with the build.
This is just the best news, Mike. I'm so excited for you guys.
I'm manifesting
I know how much
approval.
work you've put into this.
So yes, that's super exciting. Also, obviously, you know, we've got harvest to do in the meantime as well. Just that small little detail. Please let us have some sunshine.
Yes, fingers crossed, no more rain for a few weeks. Mike, it's been absolutely fabulous being with you today and for all of our last episodes as well. And I hope that you have a very successful summer with both your planning and the harvest.
You too, Jax. Thank you so much for being my wonderful, brilliant, perfect co-host. I have loved doing this so much and I can't wait to come back into the autumn. We've got 2 more episodes still to come from our other 2 very wonderful, capable presenting duos. So make sure you still tune in for them. And we will see you all, or you will hear from us in the autumn. Thank you guys very much for listening and have a wonderful summer.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.